Nupur Chawla, teaching English literature at Maitri College, Delhi University. This lecture is the second part of the lecture Toni Morrison, 5 Poems, which is a collection of poems by this very famous African American writer Toni Morrison. As we were discussing in the previous lecture, that primarily we understand or we know Morrison as a novelist, right? But she also has written a collection of poems as well that was published in 2002. So while she started writing in the 70s, was also received immense international acclaim. We noticed that how she won some literary awards as well, but most importantly she talked about issues that really mattered. She captured the experiences of the blacks and was a spokesperson for them, and became a very seminal voice for centuries to come. Now, in discussion now will be, a view on her poetry collection, 5 poems, and we're also going to look at 2 poems from this collection. Now, the first thing that we say is that, that these poems are all short. In fact, in 2002, Toni Morrison published this collection of poetry. And this work actually represents the first and the only experiment with verse form by Morrison. Now, the themes and the ideas in her poems are the ones witnessed in her novel too. So, if you remember in the previous lecture, we were also, we had discussed a reviewer from the New Yorker that had also talked about the poetic quality of her novels, right? And here we see that how in her poems the themes that she represents in her novels also become relevant, right? And they include love, transgression, memory, and the complex understanding between women and desire. You see, all these are themes that she takes up in order to represent the selfhood and experience of the blacks, right? In order to bring their sensibilities closer to a wider set of people, in order to represent them in the true spirit, right? Now the poems in this collection are all short. The longest, in fact, one contains 20 lines, and the shortest one only has 9 lines. And most of them, we note, are written in free verse. Now, Stephanie Lee has written a wonderful essay on this only collection of poetry by Morrison, and she says, and I quote, "The poems, they draw upon a network of images explored throughout Morrison's trilogy, linking scenes and ideas from the 3 novels in an unexpected and elucidating way," unquote. So once again, Stephanie says what? That she, uses scenes from the novels and includes them in her poems in a very, as she says, they draw upon a network of images explored in those novels. So there are a certain set of images that come through in her novels, and those images we also see replicated in quite elucidating ways in these poems as well, right? So now let us take a look at one of the poems that is part of the collection, and it is titled "It Comes Unadorned." Now this is a fairly short poem. Let's read the poem and understand what is Morrison trying to say here. It comes unadorned like a phrase, wrong enough to cast a spell. It comes not bidden, like the turn of sun through hills and stars in wheels of song. The jeweled feet of women dance the earth, rousing it to spring. Boulders broad as a road bend to share the light of years that reach the distance and lean towards an ordinary kiss. It comes naked into the world like a charm. Now we very clearly notice that she is using a pronoun it, which is an undefined pronoun in the poem. And she says that it comes unadorned. Unadorned means not beautified, right? It comes unadorned like a phrase, wrong enough to cast a spell, right? Like the turn of the sun through hills and stars in the wheel of song. The jeweled feet of women dance the earth, rousing it to spring. So maybe what she's talking about is some kind of a spirit, some kind of a a resilience that comes through women, even though it is unadorned, it is not decorated, but well, it is enough to cast a spell, right? Even though it comes unsolicited, but yet it is powerful enough to make a point. And then she also talks about the feet of the women dancing the earth, rousing it to spring. So secondly, we notice that how she talks about women and how their and the spirit associated with them. That when women are in action, when they dance the earth, or when the feet of the women dance the earth, they rouse it to spring. So that is the power of women that she imagines in this poem as well, right? So clearly, two things are established right at the outset: that she is talking about some kind of a force which is not beautified, which exists in its natural or organic sense, and at the same time we see that it is a very very strong force which casts a spell, right? And then she also discusses now what could this force be? It could perhaps be the force of the experience of the blacks. It could be the courage and the assertion of their voice, which might be unadorned, but it cannot be negated or it cannot be ignored. So now you see, that's the beauty of the poem, that she leaves a lot to interpretation, right, when she uses the word it here. And a second thing, she talks about the power of women, and what their action and their words are capable of. And then she goes on to talk about that, once again, this charm that which comes naked into the world like a charm. You see, there's a constant use of the word charm, spell, which very clearly brings in the idea of magic. So once again, this tells us that as a writer whose representative voice of a certain group of people, we understand that she also is a believer in the fact that how long history of struggle and resistance, assertion, etc., would definitely yield some kind of a magic, right? And this magic is in the form of a spirit which comes unadorned, right? So she has that faith that despite all the oddities, this voice, this spirit will be heard, will be seen, right? Next, if we come to the yet another poem by Morrison in this collection, it's called Someone Leans Near. Someone leans near sees the salt that your eyes have shed. Wait, longing to hear the love or the play that slash or lull you towards the hollow day. Now, what do we see here? In the very first stanza, we notice that she is clearly identifying with somebody that maybe has been suffering. That's why she says that someone leans near and sees the salt that your eyes have shed. So she makes the suffering person be seen and acknowledged, right? That someone that has been crying for long, somebody that has been maybe suffering, she says that there is an individual who will lean near and will pay attention, right? Someone needs your fear, crumbled star ash sifting down the rooms here and here. Shore up your heart to run, to stay. No sign or design marks the narrow way. Marks on your skin, a breath caresses the salt that your eyes have shed. So again, we notice when she says that shore up your heart to run, she also implores this individual to maybe also have courage, right, and run and assert themselves in no uncertain terms, while at the same time acknowledging the difficulty that they have been in. So that's why the refrain, someone leans near, right? You remember a call clear, so clear that will never die again. The more you know, it will never die again. So once again, she talks about a call, which again means what? That there is a sensibility, there is a presence that understands the strife, the struggling of a given person that maybe has suffered for really long. So it is a poem that gives a sense that how an individual who might have seen or lived through dark times, but there is hope, there is also a sensibility that is capable of understanding this experience as well. And we see that she is using a very, very personal metaphor here when she says someone leans near. Now the action of leaning itself indicates what? A sense of comfort, a sense of understanding, a way to make your presence felt for someone, right? It's a gesture of care when someone leans near, right? So we see that all of these are the ideas that she tries to convey metaphorically through the poem. And next, she talks about the longing to hear, right? So longing to hear brings out yet another important point, which is what? The idea of expression, the idea of speaking and being heard. So this connects largely to the idea of representation, right? That how there are a set of people who maybe have not been sufficiently represented and heard, and it is time that we give them that ear. And in fact, in this poem, she kind of gives that sense that it is possible to hear such people, and she's giving the confidence to those who, as she says, have salt in their eyes and that have shed the tears for a very long time. So we see that there is this acknowledgement of suffering. Second, along with the acknowledgement of suffering, there's also an idea of comfort and understanding, which is very, very important, right? Third, we notice that how she also instills a sense of encouragement and hope, where she says, shore up your heart to run, right? Instills a sense of energy in the people in order to act, in order to do as they feel like, right? And then fourth, she talks about knowing or knowledge. The more you know, right? So knowing or knowledge is a fourth very important aspect of experience of the people that have been underrepresented. Because how do we get to understand the concerns, the issues of a group of people better? Only when we get to know them, right? So that is the other important point that this poem seems to raise. And you see, once again, point number 5, she continues to use the undefined pronoun someone. Now, in the previous poem, she had uses the undefined pronoun it. Here, she uses the word someone. Now, why is that? We must ask this question, right? Maybe what she's trying to do is that she's trying to, not limit the scope of this poem. Just like in the previous poem, here as well, she wants to open up the possibilities that actually lie in the given reality for the black people, right? And that's why she also gives a very, very strong sense of materiality to their experience when she goes into these very visual details of describing the tears, that is, the salt your eyes have shed. And the moment she could have just said that the tears your eyes have shed, right? But instead she says the salt your eyes have shed. Now, it not only evokes an image or a visual imagery, but she also evokes a sense of taste. So we notice that even at the level of language, her poem is incredibly evocative. So what is the significance of a poem that is evocative? It makes us relate better. It makes us feel better. It makes us feel or understand the experience of that person better. And that, as we were discussing even in the previous lecture, is the power of Morrison's craft. She uses languages very, very carefully. And in that careful use of language, we've seen how it's also incredibly evocative as well, right? So in this lecture, we've seen, we've taken a view of this very short collection of poetry by Morrison, which was published in 2002. And we saw that how, the themes that she introduced or that she started talking about in her fiction in the 1970s are also somewhat, available, visible in the poetry as well. Second, we said that how, her sensitivity to women, her sensitivity to the experience of those who have suffered for long enough is also evident in the poems. Third, we notice that she also believes in this kind of magic. She uses the word charm, she uses the word spell, right? Perhaps it's a belief that the expression is capable of bringing about this much needed change and intervention in the discourse from the African Americans, right? And then we discussed that as a fourth point, that she also uses varied imagery and sometimes even takes recourse to references which are incredibly personal and intimate, which then tell us about how she uses her poetry in order to give a sense of comfort, confidence to those that have suffered long enough, right? So if we largely look at these tropes in her poetry, we understand where Morrison came from and what were the issues that were central to her. Now I'm sure that if you go over and read other poems of hers from this collection, you should be able to find some overlaps of images, instances, thoughts, ideas and themes between her fiction and her poetry collection as well. Thank you.